Hi, I'm Bonnie McDonald Dixon, and I want to introduce Ann Crawford. And both of us have always enjoyed helping people manifest the career they love. And today we're going to have this is part three of a conversation we've had going. And today we're going to talk about the dream job. So, Anne, you've done this for so many years, helping people create their dream career, their dream job, and really, making lives better because of it. Can you share a little bit about what that might look like for someone to have their dream job?
So it starts right from the beginning, everybody. And I want you to all think about when you were younger, was there somebody that you looked up to that you really thought, oh, that would be so much fun to have that kind of career? For me, it didn't come later. I kind of liked acting and I thought that would be wonderful, but then I thought, I can't remember all those lines. And then as I got older, I thought, I would love to interview people, maybe like having a TV program like Oprah had, where she interviewed a lot of people, would be fascinating. And then a little later on, closer to where I am now, I really love Cheryl Richardson. And she is also another coach. And I thought, I really love what she is doing. That would be my dream job, to travel a little bit, but then talk to people and have one on one clients. And I'm pretty much close to that right now. But you really have to think, what aspects of my dream career that has been with me for a long time, what is it? And for me, it was meeting people and traveling. Those are two aspects that I absolutely loved that had to be in the next equation. Because at the time I was working, I had a cleaning business. So I was on my journey to finding out what my dream job really was. It was having independent clients. And that was the first step. So, what first steps are you going to take? And Bonnie, do you have a story that can really relate to a job, a dream job that you thought maybe younger and now you transitioned into a different idea of a dream job?
Absolutely. And as a little girl, I adored animals. I just really, really, really enjoyed cats, dogs. My mom allowed us to have all the animals you can imagine. So, of course, many little girls think, well, I'll be a veterinarian. And so that was absolutely my focus in school, in high school. And as I got closer, I realized there were some parameters that were needed. And one was to be volunteering for a veterinarian and to have really, really good grades. And so I began the journey of volunteering when I was 17 for a year at a veterinarian clinic. And guess what, Anne? I realized right away the difference between a well animal that's feeling great and an animal that is not feeling well. And the day that it came to my attention dramatically was I was by myself at the veterinary clinic, and the back door knock, knock, knock. People were frantic to get in. In they come with this big white dog that was just unfortunately splattered, and they were hysterical, and the emotion was very high, and they're like, fix it, fix it, fix it. But I had actually no access to the back room with all the drugs or anything like that. The veterinarian himself wasn't there yet, so I'm calling another veterinary clinic, another emergency clinic, going, what do I do, what do I do? And as a 17-year-old, i had I didn't realize that how much drama there would be in a veterinarian clinic. And so what I say to everyone is, it's good to go check out the job before you get there and not plan for 4 or 5 or 10 years of, wanting to be a doctor or a veterinarian and then go, I don't like this. It's really good to find a mentor in the field that you're in, and or volunteer or hang out with people who are doing what you think you want to go do. It will really give you some insight. So that was my day that really said, oh, I don't think I want to be a veterinarian. anymore. It was kind of shocking to me,
Yes,
actually.
it
It
is. Yeah.
was very shocking. Yeah. So, what did you find as you worked with so many people over the many, many years? Some getting out of the military, and when they think they want to do one thing and find out, like I did, that suddenly it isn't what you thought you wanted to do, and that shock and going, "Oh my goodness, now what?" What tools or what conversation do you have with a person to help them revisualize the career that they would love to do?
It all comes down, and I think we've mentioned this before about really getting to know yourself first. And when
Mhm,
they're coming out of the military, or if they've been a veteran for a while, they have to disconnect with their tasks and their titles. And I would say that to anybody that's doing is you're not a manager. You might manage well, but you aren't a manager. You're a mom, but that's not who you really are. And it's dissecting and slowly asking them, how do they think? What excites them in life? And
mhm,
90% of the time, it's really not the career tasks. Although, if you get people who really love facilitating teams, like I found before my coaching, I did personal growth workshops. I found that I really love the energy of people getting clarity on what they would like to do. The
mhm,
same thing for the military. And with them, their days are not structured anymore. And that's really very difficult for them in many cases. So it's going into corporations with the same type of ethics that helps them with forming a dream job, the support that they need to figure out the dream job. And it's breaking down what they really love about
mhm,
themselves and things like that, to be honest with you.
mhm,
Some people, like a fuel tank driver, he loved driving, so and he was passionate about it. I had one a long time ago, and that's what he wanted to do when he got out, but he didn't know to what scope. But he had a good foundation that driving had to be in the picture. Driving
mhm,
what, or people, or anything, he had no idea. And that's where asking the correct questions really
mhm.
helps.
I love that. Getting to know, it's like the song "Getting to Know You." Getting to know
Yes.
yourself, and journaling is one really wonderful active way to put pencil to paper, and nothing may come out, but if you
Yeah.
make yourself sit
Yeah.
there for a few minutes,
Absolutely.
actually, you'll start doing a brain dump, and you might have to do it for a few days in a row or a month, just brain dumping of
Hmm.
your thoughts of what you'd like your life to look like, your vision. Um, let's see, there's a comedian that said, I'll think of his name. He's the one that makes all the funny faces. He said that he visioned $1 million check.
Hmm.
He visioned that.
He wrote the check.
Oh, he
It's
wrote
like
the check.
a vision board type thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so it's not that it's about the money, it's about that's where he was aspiring to go. So, um, after wanting to be a veterinarian, I had written down many, many things to do. I've had a portfolio career, they call it. I've done many different jobs. Each job that I did, though, I would do it to the very best that I could to learn things.
Right.
Um, speaking of driving, I've driven tractors on a golf course.
Yeah.
Now, it's a funny thing. My dad was a truck driver. I liked driving. I had so much fun. So it was a very enjoyable job. What a hoot, driving the little tractors around, cutting the greens, and it was great. In that case, the money wasn't there. It was a very low paying job, but I loved it. So then there's the question of the all different parts is there's more than just the task or the job or working for someone. Sometimes, Anne, help help us understand a formula that someone might think about of the not only income, but what they're doing and where they might have to live. It's kind of broad, isn't it?
Right. It's like a just jigsaw puzzle. All right. So
Mhm,
first you pick out the location. Do I really want to change locations from, East Coast to West Coast? What environment do I want to be in? And I know a lot of people said, I'll give up the New England weathers any day, I think I'm really ready for Arizona. And they really truly mean it, and they really thrive because there's more sunshine there. But then it's really, really important to know to what capacity do you want to help people? Because I don't care what industry you're in, you're helping society in some way, whether you're building medical instruments or you're the fundraiser for the Cancer Association, you're helping people at all times. But who do you want to help? What do you want to help? That's another key question that I ask my clients. It's if you didn't have the money, if money wasn't an object, what would you choose to do? And many people turn to avenues like, I want to be a singer. Well, okay, you want to be a singer, but you have to find the basics. So just like Bonnie talked about before about volunteering, I think that is instrumental in really crossing the line of how serious you are about getting out of what you want to do and getting into something else.
Mhm.
Because if nothing else, visit the environment that you want to be in all the time. I had a client once who really was in corporate, and his real passion was museums and gardens. And he just said, "Oh, I love both." And I said, "Have you ever thought of being like a landscaper for the museum system in the city that he was living outside of?" I think this was Colorado. He said, "Oh no." I said, "Well, why don't you volunteer and show your expertise?" And through the volunteering, he realized that yes, he loved the the museum part of it, the history and everything, but what he really loved was being outdoors a little bit more. So it
Mhm.
went hand in hand, and he ended up being a volunteer gardener for them because they didn't have a paying job at the time, and he loved it. He
Mhm.
loved the atmosphere of the history of the museum, but the really the gardening, and that's where it really breaks down. Would you like to be in the museum all the time? And he found out not so much. I like the history of it, and I like talking about the history, but it's outside the gardens that I really, really love. And that's where your gut tells you that we've talked
Mhm.
about before. Your gut tells you where you need to be placed to thrive. Yeah.
Mhm. So one of the fun exercises you and I had talked about was 3 by 5 cards and writing down everything you've
Mhm.
ever thought about doing. Maybe that's on the front, but on the back, you might consider writing, well, what does that job entail? And writing out a little deeper on the next, pass through. So the first pass through is write everything down, and you're going to sort them. You know, maybe later, and you have a pile of maybe later things, and then some, well, maybe you want to do them, and that's the middle pile, and then the ones for right now. The ones for right now, flip it on the backside, write everything, all the tasks that would it entail. um, I actually have volunteered, like I said, several times and gotten jobs. I volunteered for an entire year on my day off at a health food store because I wanted to learn the business, and I had hoped to have a store actually, and out of that, an entire year, I learned that business in and out, and the woman that shared it with me was very generous. We're still friends today, 40 years later, and, my the funds never came in to purchase the store that I hoped to, but what it did is it lifted me into a space where she said, when I didn't get the store, she said, "Would you like to be my general manager?" And I did, and I actually left the post office, and people thought I was crazy, but it was hard work. It paid well, but at the time, but it didn't give me fulfillment. It was hot. Anyway, I ended up moving into a whole nother industry, had a blast. And I went right to the top because I had volunteered, learned the job, and it put me in a whole nother space. And I think because there's no pressure when you're volunteering, you get to taste, try, see, is this a fit for me? And I found out it was a magic fit for me. And later, it actually took me into a whole part of that was retail, manufacturing, distribution. And it was an amazing career in that industry. But it all started with a volunteer job. So I would encourage everyone to do the volunteering and find a mentor. So, what can you say about that, Anne? Finding a mentor.
First, I have to say that Bonnie just hit the nail on the head with the whole volunteer thing when she said there was no pressure, because many people go into the next career and it's do or die. But if you volunteer, it takes all the pressure off and you're open to learning. Okay.
Mhm.
So what was your question again? Now that I your thing was so
Oh
bright,
no,
I just had to freeze this time.
um, I think the big thing is for people to do the volunteering, but also, like you were saying, is they've got all these options maybe in their head, but when it gets down a little bit deeper, a little bit more nitty gritty, to back to what you said, knowing yourself,
Hmm.
and then you can take any job and or career and say, what is it I want to know? What is it can I give? What's the gap between what I know and what how I do I get there? And that's where I think someone like yourself, having a mentor like yourself and myself together, separately, we're available both either separately or together. Um, why that's so important is sometimes we don't know to ask the questions
Right.
of what we don't know in that gapping. And having someone to hold your hand and guide you through that process is really important. When I wrote my book, How to Get a Job You Love, it's because I'm never without work. People said, "Oh, there's no work out there." I go, "Really? Really? There's lots of work out there. Is do you want to do it?" Now, you might say, "Oh, I've heard people say, well, I can't do that menial job." Go, no job is menial. Everything's important. I have waitressed, and believe me, if you're hungry, the waitress is very important. And can you can you be a good waitress is the question. And you, and I'm telling you, that job teaches you efficiency. See, it's a simple job, but you have to be efficient.
Right.
That job teaches you people skills. Got to have people skills if you want a good tip. That skill teaches teamwork. You have the cook, you have the waitress, you have the cashier, you have the busboy. It teaches teamwork. So each job, in my opinion, can lift you to another job if you're willing to see that gapping. So from a waitress job,
Right.
I felt it set me up for any job I wanted because I knew the teamwork. I knew, you have a supervisor, you've got to be listening to someone too. But at the same time, you have an autonomy of, oh, they didn't like their sandwich. What can you do about it? You have to make decisions. So I recommend everybody become a waitress or waiter at least once in their life
Yeah.
because it will teach you some skills at each job you go to. If you really learn it and be the best that you can be, then it lifts you to the next person because guess what? And you know this more than anybody. You get a
Hmm.
recommendation.
Got that right. I think the mentorship, I think here's the deal with the mentorship. Not everybody has somebody in their life that is right close to them that they can talk to all the time. But you can certainly, through your volunteerism, or LinkedIn is another way that you can
Mhm.
go in and find somebody that does something that you're highly interested in and set up a phone call and just say, I'd love to know how you got into it. And I can honestly tell you that if they call you back, which hopefully they will, you will learn that their path to where they are now has taken a very long time, that they did the baby steps too. So let's just talk for just a second about if you are working a 9 to 5 job, but you love to cook so much and your dream is to have a small restaurant, what would the steps be to do that? I would certainly suggest, like Bonnie said, the cards. Start writing out what it is about because that you love. Now you might find out that you only love the cooking aspect and not all the other things that go along with a restaurant owner. So let's go through some of the things you need to know as a restaurant owner. Not only do you need to know HR issues, you need to know the laws for employees. You need to know all your licenses, the food industry, the inspections, the bookkeeping. Are you willing to have people do that for you? Do you have the money to have somebody do that? Would you be willing to go into somebody's restaurant and say, I would love to help with hosting or be behind the scenes to help you twice a month to see and learn what it's like for the restaurant business? Who does all the ordering? What happens if the flour doesn't come in? Do you have a backup plan? Are you willing to work weekends and nights? It's exhausting work. If you've got the passion for it, you can do it. But like Bonnie said, check your cards, write each task off, and then you'll start to see, did I really want to do this? It looks so wonderful to walk into a big, beautiful restaurant and call it my own. But do you have the guts to do it? Now, the next thing is, am I willing to partner with somebody that I trust immensely to help with this process? Because dream jobs sometimes just don't appear. You have to work with somebody in the industry that you're interested in to finally get to your final destination. They might be your mentor or they might be a business partner. Personally, if I was opening up a restaurant, I would get somebody who was totally fluent in all the mechanics behind the scenes, because my personality is more like I'm going to greet the people and make a few dishes. I'll build up the menu. That's where my strengths might lie. Those are questions that you have to ask yourself, and you put them on those little pieces of paper, those little cards that Bonnie suggested, because when you go back through them, it's going to be like a card game. You're going to eliminate this, you're going to put this in another pile. And that's how it starts. Envisioning what you love and what you don't, but get your knowledge right in line with what you want to do and do your homework first. LinkedIn is phenomenal about that. Google businesses that are in what you would like to do.
Mhm.
Anybody's willing to talk about how they got started. Use them as a vessel. If you don't have somebody close, like a business association that you can talk to right down the store, right down the street, excuse me, or your chamber of commerce. If you don't have those type of people near you, then
Mhm.
that's another route you can go.
Mhm. Absolutely, and, one more thing about the cards, why am I encouraging handwriting? We got the computers, we got our phones. There's a physicality with the brain to the hand when you're writing, and it sets something up in your brain, and also speaking it out loud as well. So having the trusted mentor and speaking out loud and having them reflect it back to you, they're a good mentor. They're not gonna tell you what to do. They're going to share with you what you said to them and keep you accountable, because sometimes we're like, I want to try this and this and this and this and this. And there, I've actually met people, and my husband who guides people on their journey as well. They're changing their minds so fast and so many times they never get what they want.
Right.
And so I think sometimes we have to be patient with ourselves if we want something. We have to totally keep on the mark, and having a mentor in the background is very, very, very important. Having someone just have your back and say, oh, by the way, you said you were going to do this, you were going to send out some resumes, and you don't do it, then you just have to ask the question, why not? Why aren't you doing what you said you were going to do? Is that what you really, really want? Might have to dig deeper yet within what do I want. It's almost another exercise of writing, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? In a different way on paper. So, my encouragement for everyone listening, the reason why we're sharing this, I think, Anne, you'll probably agree, we generally have one life to live here.
Right.
And if we're doing something we don't enjoy at the end of our days, which we never know if that'll be today, tomorrow, or 20 years from now, what would that be like if you never did what you really wanted to do? What would that be like? You know, my own father, bless his heart, he's still alive, he's 92. complained incessantly about his job, and I said, and I vowed I would never do a job I didn't like. He complained incessantly. He wa he wanted to be a bus driver, and they wouldn't let him because he wore glasses at the time. He was a great postman, but he kinda resented it, and he liked trucking. I think he would have been a great truck driver, bus driver. That's maybe what he really wanted to do, but he stuck with it because of the money and the good benefits and everything. But every day, I would hear him sound so unhappy. You know, the unhappiness can roll out in weird ways. It can roll out to children,
Yep.
to the spouse, to the energy of the whole family if you're not happy doing your work. Again, and we know that you can volunteer on the side and be doing something we really love. We might be doing two passions at once. We're doing our work and we're doing our passion. And then for those of us who choose to, you can move over to the passion to make your full-time income. Many people do that uh, in their careers. They're doing something, they realize it's not right. What else do I want to do? And that's when they make this move. But we're here for you to fill the gap between what you're doing, what you want to do, and it's going to make not only your life better, but everyone around you better.
And actually, when you're happier, you will attract that energy and the right people in to make it possible. It really does. It really
Yeah.
does matter. I mean, and finding that dream job doesn't mean you have to be in your 20s or 30s. You can
Mhm.
find it in your 50s and 60s and 70s.
Mm.
Sometimes you have to say, I'm going to have this other career that I actually think is okay, but now I'm nearing to the point where I can't take it anymore or I'm going to retire. But if you don't do the steps that we discussed and do your investigation, it's going to take you longer to get there. So I had a
Mhm.
friend of mine who was about 20 years older than I was, and he was a jazz musician and he loved it. And his parents said, no, you're going into engineering. How are you going to raise a family? You can't be on the road all the time if you have kids. So he kind of gave it up. He did side gigs. And I'm telling you, when he got older, he started going to more jazz clubs and things like that. And he did fill in once in a while, but you could see the deep sorrow. And he even told me, I deeply regret not following my gut, my love, my passion, and being a trumpet player in a band. I know I could have done it and I would have played for like the Boston, orchestra, or I could have been on the road and I could have made it work. But there was too many people telling me that I shouldn't be doing it. So don't be like him that in your 80s you so regret not taking the chance and having options. If you do like what Bonnie and I talked about, as far as writing the cards down, finding a mentor, doing your homework, talking to somebody, and journaling all these thoughts and ideas, it would be a shame. Like Bonnie said, you only live once. So get busy.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, we're very excited, Ann and I. We love to help people find their passion, find that work, that career that totally turns you on. And in January, we'll be doing a special, probably workshop for those who want to kickstart their new year off. And we're excited. So make sure that you connect with either one of us or both of us and have a one-to-one with us. And then we will make sure that you're on that list to get notified for our upcoming exciting manifesting career you love with Ann Crawford and Bonnie Dixon. We are just thrilled to connect with you, even if you're just considering changing one, or if you know someone that is stuck. They're stuck. That's something we can help unstick you.
Got that right. We'll just pull you right out of that career mud puddle that you're stuck in, you
Oh,
know?
that's a good visual. You're stuck in the mud and you're trying to get out. And you have the tow truck. Hey, we're the tow truck. Get you on
That's
out of
right.
there, get you on the road, on the path to living a joyful life, a happy life, and one again it's gonna affect everyone around you. Um, People often ask me the question, Anne, why are you so happy? And I think it's because I've always done kind of what I wanted to do. Sometimes I've made more money and sometimes less money. It's not
That's
about
right.
the money. It's about your life. It's your one precious life that you have.
I think you nailed it. If you get away from it's not about the money. Yes, of course, we all need money to
Mhm,
survive.
mhm.
But when you change your priorities to it's got to make me feel really good and valued inside and give back to others, then the whole thing explodes into wonderful visions of your future.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Looking forward to meeting each and every one of you that's watching this. And again, we extend our offer for January. Want to make sure we get you signed up on that list for yourself or someone you know. Manifesting the career you love.
Thank you.
Any last thoughts, San?
Nope, just be true to your heart. And I'm excited for the next vision. And I think all of you will get tremendous insights out of it. So please sign up.
Mm-hmm. 2023 is the year to be. There we go.
Love it.